Seven high school prodigies find their lives boring after reaching the top in their respective industries. Their fates change when Plankun Isekai'd them into another world without Wi-Fi and democracy. Tsukasa, the genius politician, helps the seven prodigies to work as a team and create democracy in this strange world where the emperor exploits his subjects. However, before any of this, in Japan, seven world-famous high schoolers make Einstein look like a preschooler. They are known as the seven high school prodigies as a form of respect. Ringo Uhashi is the world's finest engineer and inventor. She normally invents new technologies in her space station, taking the idiom out of this world too seriously. Aoi Shigo is also a member of the prodigies who is known for her swordsmanship. Her inhuman reflexes allow her to deflect bullets, making it a full-on world war. Keen Kanzaki is a prodigy who covers the medical side. Her medical skills were enough to extend the human lifespan. She skips high school with a hall pass to perform surgeries other doctors can't imagine. Misato Sanada, gracing the magazine cover, is the demon of the financial world. Escrow is this guy's best friend. On the other hand, Prince Akatsuki makes David Copperfield look like an amateur. He mastered all the arts of magic and becomes super rich from it, leaving his audience in awe. Shinobu Sarutobi is a descendant of an ancient ninja bloodline, giving her journalist career a darker touch. She can sniff out scandals from afar, and lawsuits don't particularly work against her since she's under 18, so clear your history when she's around. Lastly, Tsukasa Mikagami is the most giga-chat of them all, as he fooled everyone into picking him as Japan's prime minister. Together, their fates intertwine with each other on a private plane. Moments later, Tsukasa wakes up in an old beat-up house, but his eyes are thrilled to see Leirul, a thick elf babe whose milkers defy gravity. She found the seven of them injured in the mountains. Tsukasa remembers their plane lost power in mid-flight and crashed somewhere in the rural area. Tsukasa rizzes Leirul with his formal way of speech. He appreciates their hospitality and kindness. Leirul, however, claims it is their tradition to help people in need. She brings him a stew and feeds him like a child. If only Tsukasa was a real child, he could drink directly from her milkers. Fortunately, Tsukasa is too beat to chew his food. This forces Leirul to chew it for him and feed it with a kiss, making it the next best thing. This son of politician pushes the playing field and asks her to continue. Suddenly, a local MILF of the village, Winona, enters the room with her mommy milkers overshadowing her face. He makes her wet with his formal speech despite being the same age as her child. Seconds after, Tsukasa notices her tail wagging from excitement, thinking the cosplay looks too legit. She allows him to touch the tail and inspect it for herself. Leirul mentions he and his friends have odd-looking clothes and asks about their ethnicity. Tsukasa tells them about Japan, but its existence is unknown to them. Tsukasa gets shocked and reminds they have been talking in Japanese. However, Winona points out they have been talking in a language called Altan. Judging from their eyes, Tsukasa concludes they are not lying, meaning their bum were Isekai'd. He asks them to take him at the site where the birds-like creatures crash. After going there, Tsukasa sees the train wreck and if Jesus saved them himself. Suddenly, a giant dragon flies above his head, leaving no room for suspicion. He tells them they have crashed in a dimension much different from Earth. After a month in the village, the elders throw them a welcome party, but it's more of an excuse to chug down booze. They can't believe the seven of them came from another dimension. It came as a shock to them as well when Tsukasa said it. However, they have accepted reality and are going with the flow, except for one. Akatsuki still thinks someone is playing a prank on him. He's trembling with fear, making the kids fool around with him. Leirul shows interest in knowing about Earth, but they divert the topic since World Wars and COVID-19 will scare them. She then reveals that people with animalistic-like features are called Buma, whereas people with no fur are called Huma. Some of the Huma possess magical abilities which explain their arrival in the world. Tsukasa repays their kindness by adding an edge to their flavorless and lame potatoes with mayonnaise. Winona shares an old folklore cooked up by the Matrix as the feast continues. It mentions 7 heroes who came from another world to fight the evil dragon and free the world from its rule. Tsukasa thinks it is a strange coincidence that the story mentions 7 people. Suddenly, Winona's son named Elk yells at them for freeloading on their OnlyFans earnings. Winona apologizes for her son's rude behavior, considering he's high. Late at night, Tsukasa calls a meeting amongst themselves to discuss 3 issues. First, they need to learn about their world's law to operate smoothly. Second, they must investigate their magic, hoping to find their way back to Earth. Lastly, Tsukasa wants to redo the village's finances and make them rich with a quick crypto pump. Everyone agrees with his points and wants to repay their kindness. The very next morning, Ringo alters their phones to stay connected with each other. She also revisited the crash site to investigate the crash. She finds a mine that can help them make aluminum to repair the plane. She also discovered the nuclear core inside the plane completely unharmed, solving their power problem. Suddenly, their attention is diverted towards the entrance where a group of NPC demands some booze and gals. The commander wants to check the specs of Winona's talent. However, Tsukasa grabs his hand since he's quite possessive about his milkers. While the commander threatens to slice his head off, Shinobu and Aoi take care of his men. Angered, the commander attacks Tsukasa, but none of his attacks connect. He utilizes his martial arts skills to show him who's the boss. Misato asks Tsukasa whether his plan is safe. Unbeknownst to him, he deployed Akatsuki to intercept his path and scare the fudge out of him. The commander can't believe a mage would protect a lowly village, but Akatsuki tells him about the debt owed to them. He makes sure the commander would keep his mouth shut, otherwise his death will be agonizing. Tsukasa gathers everyone in the evening, telling them to use their talents in a balance. They have prevailed through challenges all their life. However, they need to be careful as their superhuman talents could destroy the world. Elk and Masato travel to Dormant to sell their village goods. However, the trading company's owner Jakoi tries to take advantage of Masato, pissing him off. He calls off the deal and walks away. Elk tells him to stop him since there is only one trading company in Dormant. The trader rubs salt on fresh wounds by showing them their permit, but Masato could care less about his shitface. Elk yells at him for picking a fight with the only trading company in town. Masato tells him to calm down and rethink the situation, not knowing that a young beggar is listening to them. He loves bending over other people as much as the next person, but he hates it when someone tries it on him. He informs Elk about the principle of making a deal. It needs to achieve an objective. However, this deal won't do them any good. Masato points out his short-sightedness and advises him to stop living with rules made by others. He should not take shit from that condensing fatso while laying down. Elk is surprised to see that the merchant is angry on their behalf. Of course, he is, since the village saved their lives. Masato tells him to let him take control of the business trip. He will make him filthy rich by the end of it and teach the trading company a lesson. He takes the trader's spat personally and decides to destroy it in a week, leaving Elk and the beggar excited. On the other hand, the cheap version of Doctor Strange performs party tricks for the kids and is used as a Netflix alternative. Leirul appreciates Tsukasa for cooking mayonnaise and teaching them other recipes. She is also thankful to the rest of them who are helping using their abilities. However, she is worried about their supplies running out before winter. Tsukasa tells her to leave everything to the merchant and Shinobu, traveling with Elk. But still, Leirul recalls his rude behavior and wonders if things will be alright. Suddenly, Winona comes to defend her honor by pinning her mistake of a son on a random guy on the street. He works hard to ensure everyone stays healthy and fed in the village. However, his job is made harder by Jakoi, who monopolizes the market and undercuts the prices. After hearing this, Tsukasa is more confident that the merchant will bring their supplies. He knows that Masato is capitalist in human skin, and something like a monopoly will rile him up. By now, he's probably on track to establish his trading company. Just as Tsukasa predicted, Masato gets a permit to do business in Dormant with the help of Shinobu. She found the mayor's browser history and records of money received from Jakoi. At that moment, Ru approaches him and begs him to teach him about money. After looking into her eyes, Masato accepts her as a student. Elk objects to this, but Masato tells him that her eyes are full of greed. The Isekai'd gathers slaves from the Matrix and gives them a way out. He wants them to sell their goods in the city center with the Elm Trading Company. They will pay a 20% commission for using their permit. Seconds later, Masato masterfully demonstrates his business skills by lowering the commission rate from 20 to 10% in exchange for them manning the shop. The NPCs agree to the deal but decide to do affiliate marketing for free to help out their brothers in the Matrix. Although, they don't know basic maths, and so Masato takes them back to grade school and explains percentages. Elk feels like they are drawing the people inside a pyramid scheme. However, Masato claims they will all make money. The very next morning, a bunch of free shit is delivered to their shop. Masato reveals that stoking up a business needs capital. However, having trust on your side is the king of cheat codes. Elk understands they can profit by selling local goods from another source without any risk. But Masato is one step further. He can expand anytime since the locals are willing to manhandle the shops. After the shop opens, Elk and Ru accept immediate results, a term that doesn't exist in real life. He calms them down and their items sell like hotcakes. Masato claims their products have the same quality at cheap prices, creating a mob around him. In the evening, Masato asks Shinobu to deliver a cart full of supplies to the village and a cart with Ringo's required materials. The villagers are thrilled to see things like salt, pepper, sugar, and honey, which they didn't dream of buying. They even have fresh fruits for the kids to grow up healthy. On the other hand, a random NPC informs Jakoi about the Elm Trading Company. However, he considers them deadbeat and thinks their business will bankrupt, leaving him no worries. In the meantime, Ruth's sus methods of promoting mayonnaise using her mouth climax the Cherry Boys. Within minutes, racks upon racks of the white thick cream sell. Despite this, Masato claims tells them to retain focus as the real push is about to come. After the mob clears, a captain of the Grand Fleet merchant Klaus visits the shop. Masato gives him a taste of his white thick cream and gets him addicted. They discuss their future together in his ship. Masato starts by buttering up his ego, which makes Klaus do the same. His network told him about a new trading company in Dormant doing interesting business, enticing him to visit. Over the next few days, Klaus does his due diligence and ultimately signs a contract with him. Chikoi learns about Klaus, the captain of the Sea Serpent, siding with the Elm Trading Company. He realizes his mistake of underestimating them. On that note, he tells his GM to set up shop in the Central Plaza and give them war. Meanwhile, Ruth dozes off looking at the insane amount of money the Elm Trading Company earned. However, Masato notices Elk roaming in a world of his own imagination. He concludes he is worried about Chikoi stealing his mommy. Suddenly, Shinobu enters from the window, making Masato contemplate the use of doors. She reveals that Chikoi has declared the 5th Ninja War on his bum. Masato claims that Chikoi will start buying goods from the market and undercut their prices. They won't care if the company makes a profit of those trades. He thinks it's a good plan which would have been effective on their opening day. However, at this point, Masato has assembled his Avengers who will help end the game. Back in the village, Tsukasa checks up on Ringo to learn about her new inventions for this backward society. She's created shovels to make farming a lot easier, giving the males enough time to shove their tools elsewhere. Afterward, she stops her babbling and finally realizes that Tsukasa must have wanted something. However, he only came to check up on her health, knowing Ringo has a habit of pushing things too far. Her eye assistant reveals she didn't sleep for the past few days. Tsukasa tells her to take it down a notch and leaves. Suddenly, snow starts falling, which makes him wonder about their future. In the meantime, Chikoi tells his slaves to buy everything from the market. He intends on crushing the Elm Trading Company under his capital and logic-defying body weight. A moment later, one of his men returns, trembling with fear. He reveals the traveling merchants are refusing to sell them their goods. Finally, the king must come down and roam the streets like a stray. He demands to know why the traveling merchants are not selling to his trading company. Being a kind man, Masato graces him with his presence, revealing the merchants signed an exclusive 3-year contract with them. This means his trading company can't buy anything within Dormant. Chikoi offers more money to the merchants than Masato can afford. The traveling merchants claims that Masato warned them about this last-ditch effort. Still, they won't sell to him because Chikoi will just return to being a money-grubbing loser when the war is over. The upcoming top dog of this fantasy world reminds Chikoi that trust is more important than money. He laid off the traveling merchants to save labor costs and traveling expenses, leading to his destruction. Still, he isn't some self-absorbed egoist who likes destroying companies left and right. And so he arranges a meeting with Chikoi to discuss the future of trade and the economy in Dormant. In the evening, Elk asks Masato about his decision to keep Chikoi's business on a ventilator. He reveals that Elm Trading Company can employ all the traveling merchants in Dormant. He planned this from the start. Elk thinks that Masato is a bad person at heart. He grins at this comment and reveals his nickname, the Demon Lord of the Finance World. Suddenly, a ship merchant comes accusing Masato of stealing his property. He claims that Ruth is a slave who ran from his ship. He grabs her by the neck and sliders her on the boat. Masato asks if she wants him to save her. At that moment, she breaks free from his grip and wishes to become rich. One day, she will buy back her parents and give the rest of the money to Masato. Immediately, he throws 100 times her market price on his face and calls it a day. Purchases like these are the reason this demon lord is addicted to his gold. Shinobu calls Tsukasa, informing him about the trade wars happening in Dormant. He's glad to hear the demon lord is ripping everyone apart. Shinobu is also enjoying her time in this world since every other guy is involved in a scandal. She shares crucial information about the world's magic, revealing there are 4 nature spirits, and communicating with them allows a person to perform miracles. Tsukasa asks if there is information about summoning magic or opening portals. However, Shinobu didn't come across any comic books because magic itself is rare in the world. She found a dead end when searching for the origins of the 7 mythical heroes. The Empire destroyed every religion in the country, leaving no place or god in their society. Furthermore, she needs a travel permit signed directly by the Mark of Findulf, but he is the worst scumbag of them all. He rises in anger, knowing the Empire oppresses their people's freedom to religion, but a villager diverts his attention to the construction site. He built a public bath to experience the full glory of those mommy milkers. Moments later, Lerule enters the public bath and her talents fill the entire screen with bliss. She brings Tsukasa a special ointment made from body fluids that can heal any wounds. Tsukasa apologizes for the inconvenience as construction work is out of his forte of skills. As he enjoys the company of heavenly talents, Akatsuki comes rushing to spoil his fun. He claims that some villagers have encountered a monster known as the Chief of the Forest, shocking everyone. Using Ringo's technology, they locate the monster's whereabouts within seconds. Masato sees them from afar and assumes the villagers are coming to welcome him. On the other hand, Aoi leads the monster downhill for the safety of the citizens. The villagers want to help her, but Tsukasa tells them not to worry. He learns that one villager named Olga has been severely injured. The villager stopped breathing a minute ago, but that's no issue for someone like Keen. In the meantime, Aoi continues to deflect the monster's attack and land a few of her own in the process. Keen checks her patient and puts out a list of injuries that make the villager's head spin. However, with her skills, she only needs 1 hour to patch him up good and new. Aoi also handles her side of things by throwing the monster left and right. She then utilizes the opening to slice off its head. After nearly 1 hour, Keen was almost done with her surgery. She repairs Olga's damaged organs and moves to close up the wound. She restarts his heart by pumping her heart manually, allowing him to breathe again. Keen concludes that Olga will make a full recovery in 33 days. Tsukasa compliments for a job well done, but Keen and Aoi think it was child's play. On the other hand, Masato keeps everyone calm, reminding them they are the 7 high school prodigies. Suddenly, the Guardian Knights of the Findolf come to their village looking for double trouble. They have come to the village under the direct orders of the Mark. The captain of the Knights accused them of committing treason against the kingdom. After tying their hands, Masato claims their business was done legally and their permit is proof. The captain disregards his evidence and claims that mutts touching their gold coins is treason itself. Mark Eduardo is so offended that he wants to burn them alive. Tsukasa and the others return to the village only to find it burning.
Get out of my way!
All feminist ideology is thrown into the trash can as Winona asks the males to look for survivors in the burning building. Tsukasa stops them, revealing that Akatsuki is well-versed in escaping. As predicted, Akatsuki helps them escape, but Masato tells them Leirul was taken away. The soldiers take Leirul to the mansion where she cleans herself and wears a rising outfit for the Mark to devour her. In the village, the fire of comrades rises in Elk, leading him to make a rash decision to storm the castle. He asks the men to volunteer for the attack. Tsukasa stops the idiot, reminding him that they are not going to play ball. Even if they succeed in rescuing Leirul from the mansion, they would have to get killed. Furthermore, the soldiers will come for their heads afterward. Tsukasa claims that negotiating with the Mark can be done efficiently. He can convince him to drop the charges in exchange for Leirul's double dangs. Elk loses his balls over his statement. He calls him some ugly names and repeats his sentence to raise the drama levels. Tsukasa yells at him for the first time, claiming there are no other options, otherwise he would have suggested it. Winona agrees with his statement, but their human dignity demands them to take action. She walks closer to him and asks who will take care of his hands if Leirul is not at the village. She knows he and his friends can help them achieve the impossible. With a deep breath, Tsukasa mentions that bodies will pile like mountains and blood will flow like rivers. So this is their chance to speak up. However, no one makes a sound, showing their undying resolve. As a representative of a democratic nation, Tsukasa agrees to help them with their cause. Before things can move forward, Masato asks him to give the main disclaimer alert. Tsukasa tells them their civilization will advance 500 years once everything is over. In short, their world will be destroyed, but the villagers don't give a fudge about that. On the other hand, the Knight Commander serves Leirul as a desert to the Mark, whose face would make the city puke. She made a deal with the commander to let her tunnels be used in exchange for the village's safety. The soon-to-be-dead Mark enjoys the time of his life and gets a feel for her talents. The moment he leans in for a kiss, a spark appears and shoots them away. The Knight Commander realizes Leirul is a mage. However, Mark is enraged and wants to inflict pain on her until she begs for death. At the same time, Ringo sets up her shop near the castle. Her eye assistance aims at the electric current powered by nuclear energy. The shot is so powerful that it shakes the castle and makes the Mark fall on his feet with Leirul tied to the wall. With the castle gate breached, the Elm villagers begin their attack. The Knight Commander orders his archers to fire at will, yet none of their shoots can penetrate the giant shields. The commander can't believe puny humans can wield a big shield without losing agility. Masato uses their curiosity as an opportunity to give the weapon walkthrough. Ringo made their shields by combining metals like aluminum and bauxite to create a superalloy with low mass. This is the same metal that has progressed their technology back on Earth. The army wonder who was the idiot to assign the commander his position, as he calmly listens to the explanation. In the meantime, a sniper takes out soldiers stationed on the wall. The Knight Commander catches one of the arrows only to find them made of metal. Elk used his new metal to smack the shit out of their enemy. On the other hand, Aoi employs her expertise on the ground, slashing her enemies left and right like apples. Winona jumps into the battle with her talents dancing even after a minute has passed. Oa couldn't have imagined Winona being a boss bitch on the battlefield. Winona informs her about her decision to leave fighting after getting married. Inside the castle, Shinobu leads Tsukasa by navigating the interior. She impressed him with her ability to memorize the castle's interior and secret passages. After nearing the Mark's room, Shinobu stops Tsukasa's and saves him from a wind attack.
Whoa!
The castle magician Gale Stafford finally wakes up and comes to fulfill the job description. Outside, the battle continues with the castle forces losing. The king's commander orders his men to surround the villagers in a circle. The demon lord fears that his command will turn the tide of battle. Luckily, Akatsuki arrives to entertain the crowd. He throws smoke bombs on the grounds and claims they are poisonous, which scares everyone. The Knight Commander and his army run inside the mansion to beg for Gale's help in fighting against Akatsuki. Back inside the castle, Shinobu predicts Gale's invisible attacks by observing his wand's movements. Using her ninja skills, she sneaks up behind the magician and puts his lights out. The soldiers show up at the scene, forcing Shinobu to hold them out. In the meantime, Tsukasa makes his way to the Mark's room. Suddenly, he is shot by the Mark from behind, calling it a day. The Mark then uses the rest of his life to and also allows them to take Lei Rule. However, some fun with Lei Rule. Unexpectedly, Tsukasa gets up even after getting shot, thanks to his John Wick suit. He claims only a rifle can price through his suit, not some gun you get from 7-Elevens. Afterward, he points his 9mm rifle at him, causing him to piss his pants. The Mark agrees to drop the charges against them. He also offers to let Lei Rule leave with a lot of money. However, Tsukasa isn't a child watching Tom and Jerry. He knows that His Majesty won't see after such a commotion. Still, Tsukasa couldn't care less about money, as his main goal was to destroy the empires and build a nation based on merit. The Mark laughs at his ideology of calling the poor his equals. This pisses him enough to shoot with a rubber bullet and call it a day. Upon regaining consciousness, her eyes start to glow, and a voice which is not Lei Rule's. She tells Tsukasa that the 7 heroes must fight together to defeat the evil dragon whose miasma has filled the air. Tsukasa asks whether she was the one who summoned them to this world. However, she vanishes without answering his questions. Moments after that, Lei Rule returns to normal, not knowing what had happened. Tsukasa calms her down, informing her about the village's effort to save her from the castle. The 3 girls in the group strip down and wear a bunny feet, revealing their assets to catch the audience. The cameraman masterfully catches their talents, shaking for the arrival of God Akatsuki. He fools them with fake party tricks, further solidifying his character as their mage. Not only that, Masato presents them with bowls of mayonnaise using a smoke bomb. Ruth uses her sus way of sucking mayonnaise to make the mob rush for it. The girls claim that those who believe in the god Akatsuki will have an infinite supply of thick white cream and heavenly talents. Winona is excited their mayonnaise venture is picking up the heat. However, Lei Rule is sad for not being able to show her gratefulness to Tsukasa. Winona tells her that he might need something more. In the meantime, Akatsuki continues to enjoy playing God. Tsukasa claims that uniting matrix-minded slaves under a religion is very efficient. Masato used a magic show to gather everyone on the same page while the girls were just attraction pieces. They used the name Seven Lights religion from hundreds of years ago. Calling themselves God and messengers will allow power to transfer more smoothly before they leave. Furthermore, an underground religious organization might contact them once their name travels the continent. On the other hand, Elka accompanies Shinobu to dig up scoops in the blizzard. He feels the chill, but the ninja uses her heating technique to motivate him. Late at night, the mayor of Dormant, Walter, realizes that escaping before the Empire plots its revenge is the best option. He calls his maid and tells him to pack his stuff. Unexpectedly, the maid turns out to be Tsukasa. After removing his clothes, he claims their goal is to untie the nobles and create order. He wants him to handle most of the work as the pawn of the Seven Light Faith. In exchange, the mayor will be paid a decent amount for his services, which is better than fleeing with little assets. The mayor comes to the point and asks what the Seven Light Faith wants. Tsukasa tells him to continue serving as the mayor of Dormant under the Seven Light Faith. The next morning, the mayor calls forth the citizens to make a proclamation. He announces that the Seven Light Faith have taken control of the city. The citizens and the soldiers are thrilled to hear this news except for one. At night, the group enjoys Tsukasa's picture and maid outfit. He didn't know they would like his cosplay, otherwise it would have started sooner. Tsukasa tells them to return to Elm Village and rest. However, Keen is more worried about running out of medical supplies. She wants to set up Pfizer to suck the blood of local citizens. Tsukasa tells her to create a list of items needed for the operation. He then asks Aoi to stay with Akatsuki at all time, even in the bathroom. It would be a great opportunity if Akatsuki didn't have small meat. Finally, Tsukasa asks Masato to handle their finances and with help set up factory for antibiotics. Afterward, Masato asks Tsukasa about his plans to deal with soldiers from Dormant and the Mark's castle. Unexpectedly, he plans to unite them and create a new order of knights for the Seven Light Faith. He also has the perfect man in mind who doesn't compromise on integrity to lead his new order. On the other hand, Bernard, the captain of the watch, hears about the merger between them and the castle knights, but he resigns despite knowing their salaries will leap bounds after the merger. Tsukasa approaches him in the bar, not knowing that Bernard was present in the proclamation. He begins by mentioning his past deeds as the Silver Knight of this empire. However, Bernard reveals that his Imperial Knight status has been tarnished. Nonetheless, Tsukasa asks him to lead his new order. Without hesitation, he refuses the offer, revealing news about his resignation. Bernard claims that Tsukasa and his bands of cosplay are the reason behind his decision. He knows that the Empire will attack sooner or later, leaving the streets bloody with the innocent. Furthermore, he has another job that is his top priority, leaving no chances of his return. Bernard turns the guns his way, mentioning that men are allowed to choose their jobs in a democratic society. Tsukasa returned home, failing to complete his objective. Masato pities him and suggests giving up. He realizes the Demon Lord likes to crack some jokes, and so committed himself to hiring Bernard even if he have to give up all the milkers in town. The very next morning, Tsukasa walks on the outskirts to Bernard's home. He wonders if Tsukasa had dirt stuck in his ears. He repeats his decision from yesterday, telling him to leave. However, Tsukasa won't leave without saying his piece. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by Bernard's daughter, Eri. He tells Tsukasa that his wife left him this precious treasure when passing from a local epidemic. He became a knight to protect his daughter. However, if the Seven Light Faith deploys him on the front lines, then his life purpose will be for nothing. Tsukasa understands his concerns but raises some of his own about the Empire's rule. He conveys his ideology to create a society where all inhabitants can choose their future. Bernard looks at his daughter and is enticed by his proposal. Tsukasa slams the final nail in the coffin by promising to deploy him at Dormant. This means that he could stay with his daughter while being a sample for the Knights. On that note, Bernard accepts the job and swears his loyalty to them. While returning, Tsukasa finds a few drunken losers dozing off in the streets, questioning the Matrix. He knew the time would come when some of them would question the play. However, they must be on top of the situation and crush these questions. On the other hand, Shinobu plays the role of the scared hottie to fish for information about another territory. She learns that Duke Oslo El Gusto's army will march on Dormant after the snow. The Duke is a man who earned the title of the Bloodthirsty Warrior after fighting on the front lines. He is an amazing warrior who excels in both magic and swordsmanship, and thus commanding the trust of his men. Late at night, Shinobu reunites with Elkin and In. He didn't manage to find any information, making him useless deadbeat. Shinobu informs him about the Duke and decides to pay him a visit. In the meantime, the Mark's Knight Commander seeks Oslo's help in fighting against the rebels only to get his head chopped off. Meanwhile, Tsukasa writes a new tax reform for Dormant and gives it to the finance minister. He also gathers the nobles in the area, eliminating the class system. They are not thrilled by the idea, but nothing can be done in the face of their power. The mayor works hard to provide him with progress stats. At the door, he looks at him with a curious look. Walter heard a rumor that Tsukasa didn't sleep, and now the idea doesn't seem far-fetched. Tsukasa claims sleep is overrated. However, he tries to get some rest whenever his mind is working on destroying the society and rebuilding it. In the morning, Winona gets excited to see her father Olga recovering from the monster attacks. He views Keen as nothing less than a goddess, and he's not talking about her medical skills. But she disregards his compliments. Winona informs him about the current situation of things. Unexpectedly, Olga is aware of their village clapping the Empire where it hurts. Olga wants to join the battle as soon as possible. However, Keen goes evil doctor mode and threatens to sedate him. Suddenly, Rooks enters the room exhausted as if she got knocked up by 5 guys and 8 tons of their mayonnaise. She can't learn the multiplication table given by Masato. Winona and Olga prove themselves to be the worst examples, claiming life has been good without multiplication. As much as that is true, Rooks claims they are a bad influence. Keen tells her to calm down and keep grinding. Outside, Ringo informs Tsukasa and Masato about the development of their thermal energy plant. She borrowed batteries from the small nuclear power plant to store energy, giving them clean energy. She asks for Tsukasa's permission to continue on the other project. After she leaves, Masato gets curious about this other project. Tsukasa reveals they are upgrading their military power by equipping his army with guns. Masato suggests creating an automated manufacturing plant. Tsukasa knows setting up a plant would cut their work, but the after effects would be devastating. He wants the citizens of this world to craft their own weapons. Masato understands Tsukasa's intentions to make the citizens work for their freedom, otherwise it wouldn't hold much value. Furthermore, they need Ringo to develop aerial defense systems to fend off freaking dragons and mages. Shinobu told him about Aslo's heavenly flames, a spell which can destroy nations by creating a sea of fire. They know the heavenly flames are coming to devour them. Out of nowhere, Lerul comes running, shocking Tsukasa. He had told her to return to the village with Akatsuki. However, she intends to help him for his efforts. Lerul asks Tsukasa to have dinner with her, but he refuses, reminding her that rebuilding the world takes precedence over clapping. After he leaves, Lerul starts crying over his cold shoulder. Masato clams her down, revealing Tsukasa feels guilty for his actions. When everyone was trying to rescue her, he suggested letting her be a sacrifice for the greater good. Tsukasa has always prioritized the happiness of the majority, which is something a demon lord like him can never understand. At night, Tsukasa receives a brief report on their labor force for future projects. He gives the noble a day off to show his appreciation for their effort. Afterward, Lerul comes knocking on the door, asking if he's available. Just like before, Tsukasa makes an excuse, telling her that it's his bedtime. Lerul barges in regardless. She tells Tsukasa about the Knight Commanders, saying the village safety is her first priority. She recalls what Tsukasa did for the village and their inhabitants, claiming he's a good man. Upon hearing this, he calls himself an evil son of a gun who killed his father, leaving Lerul deep-throated. His father was a politician Tsukasa admired from a young age. He was a powerful leader with money talks. However, one day, Tsukasa discovered that his father's empire was built on corruption and running call center scams. He couldn't let his elderly be fooled by him. And so, together with Shinobu and the merchant, Tsukasa made an exposed video. The end result of this collaboration was his father being sentenced to death. His mother slapped him clean, calling him a monster. In pursuit of justice, he had hung his father. To this day, his mother hates his guts, which is justified. Unexpectedly, Lerul starts crying from his sob story. She can't believe the most giga-chad of the prodigies had a Batman-like past. Still, he does not regret his actions, since his ideal version of a politician must be a selfless saint. Lerul aggressively walks to his chair, giving us a close-up shot of her larger milkers. She claims that Tsukasa is selfish for not sharing his guilt. No matter what happens, she will never come to hate him. At this point, Tsukasa gives in and admits defeat. And if the emotionless politician didn't stand chance against women, then who else can? He takes her up on the offer to do anything and lies down in her lap. The heavenly fragrance coming from her body makes him fall asleep. Unbeknownst to him, Ringo watches outside the scene from outside, leaving her devastated. She returns to her lab, making the AI stick its nose into private matters. They thought that Ringo wanted to give Tsukasa the material list and console him on something. She shuts his stupid ass and gets back to work. On the other hand, Rude, Aoe, Akatsuki, and Keen enjoy their time in the bath, reminiscing about their training periods. Aoe was fed up after repeating the same up and down movements. Akatsuki was also tired of moving his hands constantly. Keen had to memorize entire books on human anatomy and biology. Ruse is impressed by their resistance to complete tasks that are more difficult than multiplication tables. Upon hearing this, Aoe shares her experience, saying she needs to find a goal. Rue's unhealthy obsession with money already says much about her personality, and so Akatsuki advises him to multiply by imagining money as numbers. Unexpectedly, she follows her advice right down to the boot and answers Akatsuki's questions with ease. After a while, they find her staring at the sky like she's dead inside. Aoe reveals that Masato wanted to test her division skills. The thought of Rue's money decreasing feels scary to her, so she refuses to divide. Meanwhile, Shinobu and Elk continue their journey and reach a hospitable village. There, a redhead with a killer mommy body pours unlimited bottoms up for them. She claims their prosperity is due to Oslo's leadership and the Empire's blessing. They welcome strangers with open arms, showing them methods of hostilities never seen before. Her daughter Melinda offers some apple candy and reveals they offer more food to their guests than they can eat. The mother tells her to put a sock in her mouth and avoid revealing secrets, causing everyone to laugh. They escort them to their wounds, where Shinobu jumps into bed. As the mother-daughter combo leave, Melinda advises them to leave the village as fast as possible without being rude. Elk thinks it would be hell trying to convince them to accept the Seven Lights' faith, since Oslo did a good job with them. However, he thinks that the competition can come when they are sober. Suddenly, Shinobu kisses him out of nowhere to cure his hangover. She claims that ninjas don't get drunk on cheap wine. Furthermore, this village is a weird place. During their dinner, she noticed them not eating despite the amount of food. Their eyes and pale skin are a dead giveaway of jaundice, and anyone can catch it. Due to this suspicion, she sneaked around the village and found a nasty secret. They go to a room where humans are blood dry. Shinobu claims the villagers are vampires who lure travelers with food and drinks to kill them later on. In the meantime, the soldiers led by the pink-haired Jean de Leblanc, who has a fake job done orders summon the citizens on the street. They'd force them to recite a memorized greeting for the overused Silver Knight and the soon-to-be-dead Empire, leaving Elk thinking about deep stuff. The soldier orders them to remain standing in attention for inspection. He measures everyone cup size and declares them good for business. As everyone starts to head back, one of the soldiers see dirt on Melinda's blouse, making them furious. He sentences a harsh punishment to Melinda, leading her mother to cry. She tries to take responsibility for her daughter and take the punishment instead. However, Gina notices that she has stopped smiling. Everyone living in the borders of Her Majesty must show appreciation by smiling. She is forced to smile and watch her daughter suffer. Elk loses his stuff and intends to jump in with zero skills whatsoever. Shinobu reminds him about the villagers' hidden plot to suck them dry. However, Elk tells him that Melinda is different from them due to her warning. On that note, she jumps on the front lines, asking the soldier to stop whipping. Jean recognizes the shuriken jutsu in her hand and assumes the neighboring country sent a ninja to spy on them. She offers a thirsty deal to Jean, knowing that she can take up her soldiers. Shinobu surrenders herself peacefully in exchange for Jean stopping Melinda's punishment. She had planned to surrender herself to infiltrate Oslo's mansion without breaking a sweat. Before that, she asked Elk to inform Tsukasa about her plans. Unfortunately, her plans don't bear fruit as Jean locks her up in a dungeon far from the Duke's castle. While the thirsty man lusts over her body, Shinobu plans to capture Jean and make her spill the beans. Seconds later, she enters the cell with a whip to fulfill her fetish. The man behind is ready to bust out his nut. However, Jean tells him to pack his bags and leave. He tries to convince her to let him stay, but Jeannie threatens to slice his ball off. On the other hand, Belinda's mother puts ointment on her injury. She bows down and thanks them for saving her daughter.
Oh, thanks, man.
Elk reveals they saw the room in the basement loaded with human flesh. Her mother requests them to forgive her, but something like this can't be overlooked. Upon hearing this, Mommy reveals their village was a small community for farmers. They were not rich, but things were flowing smoothly until Oslo took over. He commanded everyone to wear nice clothes and renovate their houses. This forced them to dry their funds out much faster than expected. Furthermore, his rules to remain spotless meant the farmers couldn't work on their farms. At the beginning, they ate whatever was available, but little by little, the starvation got to them, forcing them to stir-fry the travelers. Elk can overlook their sins but can't put the blame on them either. On the other hand, Jean frees Shinobu from her chains, leaving her confused. Jean reintroduces herself as an imperial knight of the empire who has come to investigate Oslo's rule. She has discovered some pretty shaking plot holes, forcing them to take action against the Duke. She assumes Shinobu came from the neighboring Yamato Empire for some shady stuff. However, she can overlook them if she joins their fight against Oslo. Meanwhile, the Duke gets high by looking at the statue of the Empire made from gold. Oscar, the Duke's butler, claims it will be placed in the central plaza of the royal capital for everyone to admire. On that note, Oslo orders him to make 4 more to place in every region. Oscar is shocked by his requests and mentions that his people suffer from starvation. He heard rumors about them eating travelers. Oslo disregards their sacrifice as nothing but loyalty. He claims that soldiers express their loyalty to the battlefield while nobles govern the land in earnest. The only way for peasants to show their loyalty to the emperor is by giving their life. Oslo shifts the conversation, asking about the rebels in Dormant. Oscar tells him their 100,000 men will crush them after the snow settles. Upon hearing that his army hasn't started marching yet, Oslo cracks his brain even more. He knows that His Majesty might ban him from the royal court. After whacking his head a few times, Oslo gets angry and unleashes the heavenly flames. He unlocks the Spear of Fire and sends it flying towards Tsukasa. At the same time, Lirul starts hearing the same voice back when she was unconscious. It tells her that the 7 heroes are in danger. It asks Lirul to go to them as fast as possible for further guidance. Ringo alarms the alert, informing Tsukasa about the incoming object. Ringo can't tell him about the nature of the attack, but she predicts its origin, claiming it's from Oslo's territory. However, he predicts Oslo has unleashed heavenly flames on their city. He orders Ringo to activate the air defense system and destroy the attack. She follows her orders, but the missiles don't have an effect. However, Tsukasa asks Ringo to check the new trajectory of the Oslo's attack. She predicts it will hit a residential area on the south side. They continue to attack with the missiles, trying to deflect it to the ocean. Unfortunately, the last missile misses its target. For some strange reason, the attack dodges the missile and lands in the residential area. The fire forms a phantom of Oslo, who announces Dortmund's death sentence for picking a fight with the big dogs. With that said, he activates the heaven's flame, creating a tower that reaches the sky. The nobles with Tsukasa recognize Oslo's signature attack and tremble from fear. Some of the nobles claim their fates are sealed and suggest escaping, while the others are worried about their people. In short, they are all in shambles, waiting for Tsukasa to feed them milk. He activates an emergency program given to them before the attack. On the other hand, Akatsuki uses his influence on the people to calm everyone. He assures them that Oslo's scheme won't work till everyone is united and calm. He tells them to lead the people to safety, as they are the leaders of Dormant. Tsukasa gives them the final push for the David Goggins TikTok. Walter quickly takes charge of the situation and assigns tasks accordingly. He receives a call from Ringo and tells her to continue with the work. In the meantime, the useless of the bunch thinks Oslo lost his remaining nuts and attacked their residence. Rubblecun intends on cleaning the trash from the streets, but Bernard saves them in time. The nobles can't believe Bernard would save them after joining with the Seven Lights faith. Despite not wanting to waste oxygen, he explains the new world can advance with the nobles' survival. The Seven Light faith wants to build a world without a class system. At the same time, everyone compliments Tsukasa for building wide roads to slow the fire spreading. Oslo Phantom Form can hear everything with his spell. The party popper proves Tsukasa's wrong by spreading fire spirits across the city. The fiery Walking Dead overcook their meals to ash. On that note, Tsukasa and the survivors are forced to escape the city. However, there is one plan in his mind yet to be implemented. Suddenly, Lyrule finally arrives when everything was almost over to give them the plot armor to solve the situation. She reveals Oslo's lance is the artifact binding countless fire spirits and thus creating heavenly flames. Ringo tells them they have one shot to pull this off. Masato worries they will lose the last line of defense over some random NPC with talents for brains. However, Tsukasa trusts her without hesitation. He points everyone's attention towards her trembling hand, revealing plots don't lie. His blind trust in her words calms her down instantly. However, now they must deal with the lance. Earlier, the magic barrier around it made it impossible for them to destroy it. But Tsukasa claims that the concentration of fire spirits around the lance have reduced, giving them a chance to pull it off. Unfortunately, the aerial radar can't operate on the ground. Misato tells the rabbit to control the missile to its location manually, but it's too much of a coward to let itself be deleted and reinstalled. Ringo's sheer incompetence forces Aoi to volunteer herself to guide the missile to its location. She tells Tsukasa that volunteering for an impossible task is not in her blood. She tells Ringo to fire in the hole, just not hers. After the missile is fired, Aoi catches up to it using her speed and holds onto its fin. Everyone is left speechless. What? Seeing that Aoi's legs can keep with the missile's speed. However, Tsukasa reminds them that there won't be candies and rainbows. The fire spirits block her way, forcing Aoi to take a left turn. However, this leads her astray from the force as the buildings become a nuisance. With no choice left, Aoi is forced to lift the missile upwards using the strength of her feet. Luckily, the automated system of the missile allows Ringo to control the combustion, allowing her to come down. She diverts the missiles toward the lance, but Oslo's phantom rises in anger. Aoi uses the walls to change her trajectory and avoid Oslo's attack. In the meantime, Ringo activates the fire extinguisher within the missile, which blows off his arms. This creates an opportunity for Aoi to fire in the hole, destroying heavenly flames for good. Unexpectedly, the damage to Oslo's phantom body extends to his main body, leading him to lose his arms. However, that's the least of his concerns, as defeating the rebels is his main priority. In the meantime, the fire spirits bound to the lance are set free. For unknown reasons, the spirits can communicate with Lyrule, thanking the heroes for their efforts. Lyrule passes their message, saying the spirits asked for their help as the city was being destroyed. In the aftermath, Tsukasa extends his hand as a form of respect for Lyrule's courage. Without her, they wouldn't have survived the battle. He realizes she blames herself for causing war and destruction. Tsukasa clears her misunderstandings, claiming an empire ready to use COVID to dispose of its citizens can only have peace for some time. Eventually, there would have been a top G with the courage to start the first rebellion, and thus wage war against the rebellion. At that moment, Lyrule tells him about Alexa's voice in her head and her mind being filled with knowledge about magic. She thinks her native ability is to communicate with spirits. She wants to learn more about magic to fight by their side. Afterwards, Tsukasa reports their situation to Shinobu. Suddenly, she starts moaning in his ear for not knowing about Oslo's plan. Despite this, she heard Heavenly Flame was some kind of doomsday weapon. They took care of one, however, things will be dire if Oslo releases multiple attacks. She reveals that Oslo must bind countless fire spirits to use the spell, meaning the attack won't come again. The conversation switches pace when she tells him about joining Jean's resistance against the Duke. Tsukasa wants to know everything, even her cup size and plot colors for research purposes. Masato comes closer, asking him what's the haps. Tsukasa tells him about Shinobu ranting about Oslo attacking without telling him first. He then tells the merchant about the mysterious voice coming from Lerule. However, they don't know if this entity is an enemy or ally. Still, now returning home is the least of their priority. Masato claims Oslo won't sit sucking his thumb. At that moment, Bernard shows Tsukasa the new batch of guns made for their top 50 men. Tsukasa wants to follow tradition of their world and attack first. The last time Oslo was this angry was when Oscar clapped his wife. He grows limbs of fire and tells Oscar to gather his forces. They have planned to storm Dormant in the upcoming spring, but Oslo orders them to get off their bums, otherwise it will be cooked medium rare. At the same time, Jean and Shinobu receive information about Oslo's attack on Dormant. She plans to take advantage of this situation and attack when his forces move out. The soldiers know that Oslo has booked their grave on Booking.com with a 20% discount. They won't have the strength to piss, let alone fight a war. His marks also think that Duke Oslo has lost his nuts. They respect him as a warrior, but doesn't make a good leader. The Emperor made a mistake in rewarding him with the honor of Duke. As their conversation ends, the noble in charge of the army tells his men to rest their horses at the checkpoint. Unexpectedly, Bernard and his brigade of men have already taken control of the checkpoint. He orders them to take position and fire, killing soldiers like ants. The commander is shaken to see his men drop like flies. He can't believe the rebels would have guns in their arsenal, yet he remains calm and orders his men to retreat. Bernard smirks as Tsukasa had predicted the plot. He orders his men to follow them and finish their forces. One soldier reports the situation to the retreating nobles, claiming their rear forces are being wiped out. The commander orders him to spread the news of his death, forcing the rebels to loosen their guards. The rebel army will think the battle is won and give their main forces enough time to gather. In the meantime, Oslo summons his army of 100,000 to make them march into battle. Simultaneously, the nobles call their cavalry unit to the front lines. Unexpectedly, Bernard's weapon is ineffective against their Durex protection. The nobles overconfidently declare their victory, but Bernard knows celebrating too early gets you jinxed. In his conversation with Tsukasa, they discuss the possibility of their cavalry unit coming to the front lines. He also knew they would drop their guards, allowing them to use Ringo's new hand grenade to their fullest potential. Suddenly, all of their overconfidence is smoked by Bernard's men, leaving them unable to move. On the other hand, Oslo reads a memorized script written by a freelance writer. Out of nowhere, he is attacked by Shinobu and Jean's Azure Brigade. However, he easily dodges the attack and demands them to reveal themselves. Jean permits the Azure Brigade to reveal themselves. Unexpectedly, all 100,000 men change their flags, revealing themselves as rebels. Meanwhile, the AI Mouse tells Ringo that the nobles on the battlefield have fled to their castles. Ringo knew this would happen since Tsukasa warned of this situation. The nobles feel safe in their castle, but suddenly one of their towers blasted, making them realize the gravity of the situation. Ringo's mouse tells them to surrender their forces and join the Seven Light Faith. The commander tells the other noble there is no way of escaping, and thus the rebel army wins their first battle. However, the battle on Shinobu's side has just started. She and Jean fight Oslo 2-on-1, but still find it difficult to land a hit. They are forced to stay on their toes due to his fireball spells. Jean intends to create an opening only to get stroked by a fireball. Eventually, Shinobu diverts his attention toward her and acts a punching bag. This gives Jean the perfect opportunity to shove a rod in his backside. Shinobu gets the chandelier with a kunai, making it fall on his head. Despite the barrage of attacks, Oslo refuses to give up. He claims their attacks aren't enough to kill him. Seconds later, he goes berserk, but the girls leave the building in time, winning both battles. On that note, Shinobu returns to Tsukasa's side to share a detailed report. She reveals that Oslo's body hasn't been found. Personally, she believes a man like him won't die easily. However, the Azure Brigade are going around town taking credit for his death and freeing the people. Tsukasa thinks they are whack jobs for calling death to their doorsteps. But Shinobu is more worried about the two nobles. Luckily, Walter is handling the situation with good old God by his side. He gives them paperwork from Tsukasa in which the nobles' moves were predicted. They start to believe that the angels of the Seven Light Faith have godlike powers and standing against them is suicide. With her job over, he tells her to enjoy time with the girls.
Party? No. Party!
They use massage oils used only by the Empress to relax their bodies and give us a clip to use for science. Everyone is getting the luxury treatment except for Ringo, who is worried about her milkers being overshadowed by the others. Keen assures her that many men find her attractive. Most of them would be loser simps, but that is aside from the point. As her friend, Shinobu uses her talent-growing ninja technique to help her grow. In the meantime, Akatsuki feels the heat from the maid's hand. She is intrigued by his pale skin and unique features, making her unable to resist. He claims that his underage Excalibur can't help her with the thirst. In the meantime, the only competent men enjoy a cup of tea made for the Emperor. Tsukasa and the merchant are going to enjoy all the luxuries this world can provide. Suddenly, the group of goddesses enters the room. However, Masato didn't know a shorty blonde was also part of their group. He yells at Masato and Tsukasa for making fun of him. Furthermore, he can't believe Tsukasa would force Awa to stay with him at all time. He hardly resists the urge to tell him how lucky he is. However, he claims the god of the seven light faith should be protected by a hottie. Minutes later, Masato notices Leirul missing from the pack. Tsukasa reveals she's been learning magic from Gale. With just a little practice, she has reached the level of elite mages, making her a valuable asset in the future. Masato changes the conversation, mentioning his conversation about the Azure Brigade. He thinks their alliance to fight with Oslo was temporary and purely goal-driven. Still, making a move on them while they are popular with the masses is not an option. Keen realized the delicate situation and assumes the fight between them would lead to bloodshed. She asks Tsukasa for his opinion on the matter. Unexpectedly for them, he does not trust the Azure Brigade. Akatsuki is shocked to hear his judgment since the leader is a nice man. After the battle, Tsukasa intended on melting the golden statue and used the funds for the repairs. However, the leader just began spouting nonsense with no logic. The lack of eye contact told him that Azure Brigade was full of garbage. They want to use the gold to fill their pockets. Despite this, Tsukasa thinks the puzzles will fall into place eventually. He assumes that Oslo will return to take his statue, giving the Seven Light Faith to capture him. Afterward, they will complete the reparations as soon as possible to win the public opinion, allowing them to reveal the Azure Brigade's corruption. At this moment, he will force them to return the money stolen from the treasury. Suddenly, Keen tells them to do a rain check. She claims that Tsukasa and Ringo need to take 5 days of rest, otherwise both will develop diseases. Tsukasa would need 10 days to recover and Ringo would take 5 days, making it inefficient. They don't argue with the doctor and agree, shocking Masato. Tsukasa takes this forced vacation as an opportunity to tour the town with Ringo. The Eye Rabbit goes crazy over her master going on a date with a dark politician. Ringo claims it is just a tour where the two of them will be alone. The Eye gives her human date 101, saying that the definition of a date, leading her to freak out. She seeks advice from Awa, who has had many successful exchanges with the opposite gender. Judging from this sentence, Ringo gets an idea of where this is going. Oi explains that going straight for the balls can bring any man to their knees. She demonstrates the method which will keep her single for life. Ringo runs away before Tsukasa loses his Excalibur. Next up, she takes her hopes to Keen, a sane person compared to the battle-loving freak. Her advice begins with telling Ringo to enjoy sceneries and good food with her partner, but then comes chloroform. She tells her to use it until he faints. Afterward, she can take him to an isolated area and strip him down. When's that done, she can follow steps that make her wet on the spot. Lastly, Ringo takes what's left of her hopes to Shinobu. She teaches her a few things to make a man fall into a trap. However, she asks her about entering a normal relationship. The following morning, she reaches the site earlier than decided to observe the place. Unexpectedly, her plans fail when Tsukasa sees her in the corner. Judging from her red face, he thinks she might be having a stroke. But Ringo insists on continuing as her redness is a sign of hormones running wild. Their reputation as angels attracts attention on the street, forcing them to take on disguises. However, the new appearances just make girls look at him even with more thirsty eyes. Ringo remembers Shinobu's advice about taking the nuclear approach to hold a man's hand, and so she pretends to slip. Unfortunately, her plan fails as the restaurant they were going to have lunch in arrives. Inside, she tries to switch cups with him intentionally for an indirect kiss. Unexpectedly, Tsukasa mistakenly drinks for her cup, causing her to gain from embarrassment and leaving him worried. Ringo recalls her past when her mother, who was a world-renowned scientist, genetically engineered her daughter to produce a prodigy. From an early age, she exhibited unparalleled inventing skills, earning her Nobel Peace Awards one after another. Initially, her mother was proud of her daughter's achievements. However, the awards came like mail, which made her smile fade slowly. Ringo excitedly told her mom about completing her project without asking her permission, flipping the crazy switch in her brain. She acts rude and calls her a monster, leaving Ringo confused. She tries to change things, but her mother leaves the house without any hesitation. Over the years, Ringo stopped inventing and became a shut-in high school student. Unexpectedly, Tsukasa comes to her, asking for her genius. He gives him an old beat-up watch to fix, saying it's a precious gift from her father. She works all night to fix the watch without knowing the reason behind her determination. The next day, Tsukasa appreciates her for the watch and gives her another beat-up technology. Day by day, he asks her to fix strange things, keeping her busy all night. Sometimes, Ringo is forced to make the repairable parts herself since their production stopped. Ultimately, she refuses to fix his things and resume making new inventions from scratch.
No, I don't really want to do it.
In the evening, she passes a local tech store only to find Tsukasa talking with its owner. He apologizes to him for not being able to repair his things any longer. This makes her realize that Tsukasa wanted to kindle the flames of motivation inside her. Back in the present, Ringo wakes up in Tsukasa's land and gets flustered. She realizes controlling the date is the worst possible thing anyone could do. She doesn't care if they can become close. For her, being near Tsukasa and loving him from afar is enough. They take selfies together to save their memorable date in another world. Tsukasa claims it was a nice day off. However, he knows that the city is in danger. He needs Ringo's help to make sure that everything works out correctly. Tsukasa closely monitors Ringo's progress on the secret mission. During this, he also assigns a task to Shinobu to dig up dirt on the Azure Brigade. However, he warns her not to stay in enemy territory for too long. She knows about the imminent danger but wants to learn something mysterious about them. On the other hand, the village in the former Deuce territory suffers from an epidemic of an abdominal virus. Most of its citizens, including Melinda, suffer from intense stomach pain. Her mother begs the local doctor to cure her daughter at all cost. He is left helpless in the face of a new disease. Furthermore, they are out of the miracle drug that Keen gave them, which is just antibiotic. With no choice left, her mother begs God Akatsuki to heal her with his magical powers. Naturally, he feels a strange sense of helpfulness never experienced before. At the same time, doctors from the medical guild come to taunt him. They call him a cold god who doesn't care about the people. They claim that Seven Light Faith has no intentions of saving the people from this plague. The leader of the guild has the audacity to boast about his medical skills in front of Keen's medicine. He offers to heal her daughter with an opium medicine, which does more harm than good. She will do whatever it takes to save her daughter. However, the leader says their hands are tied by the Seven Light Faith since Keen banned their medicines. At this point, Akatsuki feels a boiling rage in his balls, calling them bastards with multiple fathers. He promises to heal everyone suffering from disease with the blessing of the angel Keen. Keen enters the room and confirms Akatsuki's words. The unregistered men ask how she will accomplish such task. Despite not having enough antibiotics, Keen will make the medicine through coal. The guild members laugh at her, thinking her milkers took all growth hormones, leaving her brain empty. After they leave, Keen relieves Melinda from her pain using an injection. She goes outside with Akatsuki and Aoi to create a new medicine from coal. Minutes later, Lerule shows up at the scene, ready to lend her assistance. Akatsuki advises her ask for Ringo's help. However, she tells him that Ringo is working on top-secret project with Tsukasa. Lerule can use her magical talents to heal him with one kiss. With her help, the process of making condensed pee becomes much easier, and thus the med company looks forward to make billions off poor people. Keen administers the new medicine, allowing the patients to lay in ease. Her mother appreciates the angle for healing them. However, she claims the medicine can only stop the disease from spreading. The real reason behind their quick recovery is the care and motivation that was given to them. She notices a spy from the medical guild taking notes on their activities, but he runs once discovered. At night, the spy reports Keen's success on creating the new medicine with coal. However, in their mind, it couldn't have been possible without the mage on their side. They decide to isolate the girl and have some fun with her talents. Keen had foreseen this outcome and pays them a visit for a chat. She immobilizes them with syringes filled with anesthesia. She tells the leader that a person's personality can change according to the change in their brain cells. Unfortunately, they don't have brain cells to influence. Upon seeing her true side, he calls her a demon instead of an angel. Keen agrees with Label as she hates God with all her guts. She can't believe an intelligent being like God would create humans with weak bodies and greed. Her life goal is to show middle finger to God by eradicating death, the ultimate deficiency of humans. The following morning, the leader of the medical guild goes 360 in his personality, creeping out everyone. Keen invites everyone to corporate with him as he's seen the light in pitch darkness. Meanwhile, a general-rank noble summons the leader of the Azure Brigade to his castle. He won't punish him for getting rid of dirt like Oslo, since his methods were fudged up even by their standards. However, their main problem is the Seven Light Faith, who are determined to overthrow the Empire. But there have been rumors about the Azure Brigade working with the enemy, putting the general in an odd position. Still, he knows their collaboration was necessary for them to take down Oslo. He then calls upon Heavenly Flames, the same as Oslo. He agrees to lend the weapon to the Azure Brigade with an additional 10,000 men. This will be enough power for them to crush the Seven Light Faith and eliminate their ideology of equality. Meanwhile, Ringo creates the first nuclear weapon of this world. She fears this weapon is not good for them. Before answering her question, Tsukasa asks what it takes to create a nation. He claims that children can create a cave and call it their nation. Then the adults would come and destroy it and scold the kids. In short, creating a nation doesn't take much effort, but maintaining its supremacy requires them to take difficult decisions. As the pieces fall into place, Jean swears on her sword and pride to maintain the ideals that were given to her by the founder of the Azure Brigade. Minutes later, a very powerful cavalry knight comes to assassinate her. He was also the one who killed the previous leader, causing Jean to raise her anger. However, her inability to keep up with the knight makes her an easy target. The soldiers claim it would be shame to let this beauty die without a test ride. They tear every shred of clothing on her body for clapping her cheeks. Thankfully, Shinobu comes to her rescue in the nick of time. She saves her from the knights and escape. Afterward, she takes her inside a basement where the current lord hid the gold statue. Jean cries in agony, remembering what the Azure Brigade has become. Shinobu stands by the true ideals upon which Azure Brigade was founded and claims she believes in the true nobility of individuals. She wants her to join with the Seven Light Faith and fight for a better future. Suddenly, she senses someone coming and tells her to hide. The leader of Azure Brigade and a mysterious merchant hope to make a deal for the golden statue. The merchant is shocked to see that they broke it into pieces. The leader claims no merchant would have bought a status resembling the hideous emperor. The merchant says he wasn't going to punish the leader for overthrowing his rule since the empire strives for survival of the fittest. However, breaking the statue into pieces and selling it on Amazon is unforgivable. He removes his robe, revealing himself to be Oslo. The leader thought he was dead. However, Oslo was brought back to life by the general using a secret art of resurrection. Firstly, he toasts the leader till his ashes remain, reminding the two hiding pipsqueaks their time is coming. They notice a red magical stone in his chest, but getting out the basement takes priority. However, Oslo is not playing anymore. He unleashes a deadly spell, creating serpent made from flames to kill all the soldiers. While escaping, Shinobu calls Tsukasa to report the fudged-up situation. She leans about his plans and tells Jean to increase their speed. In the meantime, Oslo becomes Oze from the last airbender with flames coming out of everywhere. With this power, he can wipe out the devils of society. At the same time, the Seven Light Faith fires their nuclear weapon at the city. When it hits, Jean assumes that Oslo has lost his last pair of nuts. However, Shinobu tells her the explosion was caused by the Seven Light Faith straight from hell. She says the Empire isn't the only one who can launch long-range weapons. If Ringo had her mood swings due to her days, she can destroy the Imperial City on a whim. The nuke creates a cloud of fire visible to people in Dormant. Everyone is confused and scared to what was the cause of it. Misato says it's a beacon that will take the world into a new age. He realizes that Tsukasa had no choice left but to unleash God's thunderbolt. In the meantime, Ringo confirms the missile has destroyed its target. Tsukasa senses her discomfort on the entire matter. He reminds her that heavenly flames have been proving to a lethal weapon. After forming a nation, they will enter a pact with other nations forbidding its use. For that to happen, they needed to demonstrate the power Seven Light Faith. According to him, diplomacy can only exist in equal states. Hopefully, the Empire will understand and enter the pact, otherwise the ground will be filled with flames. Ringo realizes that Tsukasa is taking the responsibility off her shoulders. Unlike before, she gets up, holds his hand, and tells him to share the burden. The following morning, Akatsuki summons everyone to make an official announcement. Everyone is confused as they are unaware of the topic. Akatsuki calls the angel Tsukasa to take the stand. First off, he tells them about the situation from yesterday and how they wiped out the Azure Brigade. Furthermore, they have taken control of Oslo's territory, giving them control over the north. They will protect these nations and avoid any further bloodshed. Still, they don't aim to control the masses, instead hand over the control to them, creating an equal society. Their politicians will be elected into office, and thus a republic will be born. From now, he declares their nation will be known as the Republic of Elm. All of a sudden, a tower of fire appears at the entrance, forcing everyone to escape. Unexpectedly, Oslo's comes out of the flaming tower to kill them. Tsukasa can't believe a mere human could survive a nuke to his face. At this point, Oslo activates his transformation using the stone in his chest and becomes a demon-like creature. Lerul tells Shinobu and Aoi to break the crystal in his chest. However, the two of them are unable to come close. Eventually, Aoi gets close to him, but her sword shatters on contact. Everyone gets back as Oslo approaches Tsukasa on the podium. He takes out his 9mm to target the crystal, but none of his shots connect. When Oslo jumps on the podium, Tsukasa destroys the magical device. Before dying, he realizes that Akatsuki is just a front of their organization. The real leader behind this rebellion is Tsukasa. However, he claims that Tsukasa's effort to help insects rise will bear no fruit. He can't defeat the emperor who has been chosen by the gods to rule. This is when the dupe becomes a statue and breaks away. The battle ends, but Oslo's last words continue to haunt Tsukasa. He wonders if they can really defeat a superhuman emperor. Still, he fixes his facial expression and heads to the celebration. He then realizes that everything will be alright because high school prodigies have it easy in another world.